Well, I think that's the problem with me and you in general is we both like to talk a lot, but our interests don't always overlap. All that some of them do, but not all of them. So sometimes we want to talk about things that either one of us don't really know much about.
Welcome back to Barf City. This is episode 19. I'm Eric.
Kevin.
Oh, number 19.
We're almost over that big hurdle.
Yeah. You can
I
make
feel
it
like
past 20 episodes with another person in the podcast. You made it.
is that how that works?
Yeah, and then it goes up to I think for every 10 episodes you do with another person means you can just deal with them even easier. I don't know. I'm just making shit up at this point.
I see a lot. I follow the podcasting subreddit on Reddit because, of course, I follow every subreddit on Reddit.
Right.
And they said something about I'd never heard this before, but they said most podcasts don't make it past episode 7, and I was like, really? And I was like, I never heard of that. So, but that's just what they said. So.
Well, I'm curious on that because is it like, do they just don't, if they don't get enough views by episode 7, do they just stop?
That's
Or
probably what it is. Like maybe they get started and their expectations are a bit too high, so they're like, "Oh, no one's listening," so they just kind of just stop doing it. So, or it could be maybe they did it, and maybe it was a bit more harder and time consuming than they thought it would be. I don't know. So, could be a mix of things. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people like with us, we just went through it like, okay, we'll start out with a Zoom call.
yeah,
Our audio might not sound the best, but if we get more into it and the podcast starts slowly picking up, the more it picks up, the more we're gonna put into it, and
yeah. We'll definitely try to improve things as time goes on.
yeah, and next thing you know, we might have a whole fucking little studio.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's fair to say. I think it depends on what kind of podcast you're doing. On the hard, depend like on how hard it is. Like the kind we're doing is a bit easier because we don't really have to pre-plan anything. But I've done podcasts. I was actually listening to one of my podcasts yesterday, one of my old ones. It was the Legacy of Goku podcast. I was like, I forgot I even made a podcast about Legacy of Goku, and but with those podcasts were a bit trickier because I also had my internet exposition one where I did news about what was going on the internet, and that one was also a bit trickier because I had to do things ahead before the podcast itself didn't really take that long. Recording the podcast, it was all the getting ready for the podcast that took forever, and that was the time consuming and the harder part. But this one's is a bit easier. So, but of course,
Well,
as we improve things, it'll get a bit trickier as time goes on. So,
that's what for me. Like my thought on it is like if I was to ever do a podcast before when we started ours was because I actively look at new stuff from there, the comic books and movies and behind the stage stuff or whatever, and this kind of news and that. It just be in the comforts of nerd talk and when I had my thoughts on a comic book or a character and throwing some well, apparently they're adding this now to the comic series, or so apparently by the looks of it, this is how the movie's gonna go.
yeah,
You kind of have to get a wider net to make an easier podcast, in my opinion. This is just my opinion.
yeah, you do. I agree. So, the more niche you get, the it kind of gets trickier. So because
Yeah,
then you kind of know exactly what audience you're targeting once you become very niche, and so you kind of so you're trying really hard to like make that kind of content versus our podcast where we're just kind of being us, and whoever wants to listen and join along, they can just come along kind of thing. So
yeah, it makes it a lot easier
yeah,
for our type of people. Some people are the type of people that they just can't ramble on. They have to have a script. They have to have
yeah,
a topic they're going to talk about.
I
Yeah,
can
we
do
should
both actually. It's formatting the script is the part that's time consuming for me, but I can follow along with a script but I can also wing it too. I can do both. So
Oh yeah, like if we ever wanted a scripted episode, I'm down for it because I can do that too. I mean,
yeah. If we had money to actually like hire someone to like script out stuff we talk about, like I'd be all down for that because then I could just read off the script. I wouldn't have to make it. Just follow the outline and get going.
I mean, yeah, you have to find someone like, okay,
We just need you to come up with ideas of stuff for us to talk about. You know you've run out of stuff to talk about when you need somebody to come up with something for you to talk about. Yeah. I think right now we're okay though. Maybe one day we'll hit that point. We'll be like, I have no idea what else to talk about.
maybe you, but I never run out of things to talk about because the only problem with me versus on you with us as a co-host of this podcast is what I can talk about for an hour and a half and then switch to another topic in the next episode. A lot of those topics are stuff that you're like, I don't really know a lot about because it's not really my full cup of tea. Like you sip from that cup, but you never really like took a gulp.
Well, I think that's the problem with me and you in general is we both like to talk a lot, but our interests don't always overlap. All that some of them do, but not all of them. So sometimes we want to talk about things that either one of us don't really know much about. So
Well, the only thing that I know, like for certain, that don't fully overlap or really touch much between our interests. A lot of it's like a lot of our show interests
yeah,
because you like a lot of the same shows as I do, but you also like your what was that one you talked about a couple podcasts ago? The
I don't know. I talked about a lot of shit.
the Saboteur or whatever.
The what?
Basically, live action Among Us,
Live action Among Us.
where the guests are the
Oh, you're talking about the mole. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could watch the rest of the seasons, but they're not available anyway. But yeah, that's a good show. I actually, like I said, the weird thing about me though is I'm not normally into reality shows like that. I don't really like those kind of competition shows or reality shows typically, but that one was just interesting to me because I was trying to figure out who the mole was the whole time. So it made it more interesting. So if it wasn't for that little gimmick there, I wouldn't have wanted to watch it. So.
Yeah.
Because like when I there was some times like when I was a kid slash teenager where I watched like one season of like Survivor or something like that. But as a whole, I never really got into this. Like I was not one of those people that watched every season or even most of them. And I never could get into like The Amazing Race or any of those other shows. Like they were just always boring to me. So
Yeah, and I do know that.
but I know a lot of people that like them.
Yeah, and I do know our style of podcast that we're doing. A lot. There's people that ain't gonna like that style because I even have a friend that won't listen to our podcast because he just doesn't like the fact that it's not a coherent thing. We just do one topic
because we're just rambling. Yeah. It's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
For me, I think it really comes down to who the people are. Because let's face it, some people you just find interesting for some reason, and then some people you just don't. I've listened to some podcast where I'm like, I like the topic that they're talking about, but I'm like, this person that's talking is just not interesting to me. I can't quite put my finger on why that is, but it's like they're just kind of boring me. So, so it could be, so anybody that listens to us, like it could be just that they're like, well, they don't always talk about what stuff I'm interested in, but I kind of find them interesting or funny or whatever. So,
Yeah, or it's just like some background noise, whatever.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I keep making the statement. To anybody that listens, if they have a thing they would like to see, our opinions on, comment it down on YouTube, in the comment section of the YouTube videos, and we'll probably cover it. It gives us something to talk about because we don't talk beforehand and be like, oh, what we're going to talk about with this, and this episode. We just get into it and whatever comes off top of our heads.
Yeah.
So
I know. I know a lot of people aren't really interested in interacting with podcasters that much because people just want to listen to it and then just kind of move on. But I'm hoping people will kind of use our podcast as an exception and actually will like interact with us as time goes on, because it would I think this particular podcast, it would make it more interesting in that aspect. So I'm hoping people will kind of make an exception with us. So.
Well, I mean, people do like knowing that their opinions on things are heard and discussed a lot of times. Yeah. But the problem with a lot of podcasts is, or heck, even a lot of YouTube videos in general, you have to be, they're already discussing the stuff. They're like, if they're doing interviews, they already know who they're going to interview next.
Yeah.
Like a lot of podcasts doesn't lend to people giving their opinions or like talking to their audience as much.
Yeah.
Man, I find that stupid because if you're just a base podcast where you're talking about, say, we'll do one, really popular horror podcast, true crime podcast, stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you read your comment section, your comment section might actually have new details for you that you actually missed.
Yeah.
And bring it up later and engage with them that way. Or somebody might mention a story that they overheard. And, well, that might be interesting. Let me look into that and see what I can dig up. And your next episode could be because you dug up something on a comment. And that commenter will be like, I commented about that last episode.
Yeah.
There's some things that you can lend into adding your viewers, which is like with us podcasts, especially, is one thing that attracted me to the concept is the fact that if we do get a lot of viewers eventually, or any viewers, we could literally just go through their comments, and if they have a cool idea or something, we can see how it works and implement it if it works well, or just be, talking to them.
Yeah.
Because it'll go from being just our podcast to anyone who actually likes our podcast and listens to it becomes partially their podcast. In the sense of they can help us figure out topics, or I don't know, somebody might comment something extremely stupid and I might want to have fun with it.
Yeah. Well, I know how you are. Yeah. you can also, leave voice messages too. I know through Spotify, a lot of people don't utilize it much, but yeah, you can do that for people that may not want to type out like maybe they have a long-winded thing to say. So,
yeah. So if you ever comment on one of our videos or on the audio,
I need to put a link to the voice message system. There's a lot of stuff I need to do.
Yep. You're the technical guy. I'm just the talker.
Yeah, I know. I get distracted by other things. So I always forget about the nitty gritty stuff. I did that with my former podcast too, where I had to kind of like slowly add in all these specific. Some of it's just because I honestly didn't know about it when I was first starting out. I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
But this one, it's like, I know you can do it. It's just I keep forgetting to do it. So yeah, I need to get on the ball on that. So I still need to make like some more audiograms to advertise our podcast on like Instagram and stuff. So
yeah. I know it was weird. A couple of days ago, I went to get on the Xbox with a friend of mine, and they were already in a party, and I guess they were AFK, and I jumped in on them. And they were listening. I heard my voice and your voice. Like, what the fuck? They were AFK listening to our podcast in the background.
Oh yeah. Is this someone that you just game with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I know I was listening to one of an old episode from one of my podcasts yesterday, and I had it just playing, and my son didn't even recognize my voice because I get on those other podcasts, like when I talk by myself, I had a tendency to try to do a professional voice, and so my voice sounded a little bit different than like probably what it sounds like on here because on here I talk more casually, but on those I tried to be all like proper and would speak very distinctly too. But and it also helps that I had a script too. I would make like a little outline to follow along with, and you could tell when you listen to it that I was like following along with some kind of outline or something.
when you make a script, you gotta make it sound more natural.
I did a pretty good job. I definitely needed some improvements, but I think I did okay. So, but you could just tell my voice was it probably didn't help that I was by myself, but you could tell my voice was a bit on the robotic side. So, where I didn't really sound like I was just kind of talking. I just, you could tell that I was probably reading something.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible out loud reader anyway. I read so much better in my head than I do out loud.
I think there's a lot of people that way though.
Yeah. I like reading in my head because then I naturally can do like the voice if I'm reading like a novel or something. I can naturally like, which I'm sure everybody does this, but where naturally I'll like kind of make up a voice for certain characters and stuff and how they sound. But when I read it out loud, I sound like such a robot, or I stumble over the words a lot. So
For me, when I read a book, I always have to have a song playing, like music in the background.
really,
Brain starts imaging it like it's a movie, and I had to have a soundtrack to that movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, I will literally pick a group of songs and make a soundtrack depending on what the series I'm about to read is.
I actually don't think I would be able to do that. I think that would actually distract me a little bit because I remember when I was in school, sometimes they would play like the audio tapes, and some of those would have like soundtracks mixed in with it. And every time they'd play like one of the songs on there, I would always get distracted from the actual reading. Like I would start paying attention to the song and not what the book is saying, like the narrator.
Well, it helps that I already know the songs I'm picking, so I know the
Yeah.
lyrics instantly. So when I pick the score, I pick songs that I can just kind of bebop with as I'm just reading.
Now, I will help listening to music can help me write stories because sometimes when I'll think of ideas like for a story, if I hear music, I have no idea why that does this, but for some reason when I listen to music, it actually helps me come up with ideas for stories and stuff so much easier. It like helps me create a scene in my mind. But when I'm reading, that's just kind of distracting to me. Yeah.
Well, when I was a teenager, I get that because I used to do online role play.
Yeah.
Like there was a Facebook group. I don't know if it's still there. I left it after I turned 19 because it's like I'm getting a little too old for that one. And the characters, granted, my characters in that group were was reaching my age, but so it's kind of I moved the characters on and I moved on kind of thing. But it Camp Half Blood role play. And it was a Facebook group that you go in there and you make a post in the group setting up the story, like the premise, the start of it. Like your character, and of course you have to abbreviate the actions versus from the words or whatever. And so what you do is, you set it up. Like when you first start, I'm stumbling over myself here.
Oh, you're good.
Like when you first make a new character and they're starting to come to the camp, like you can set up, your initial how you got to camp, if something was chasing you or you just walked into camp. And in the comments section on that post, whoever wants to actually, like, you can even make a little abbreviation, only need one or two other people to help with this. Or you just, anyone can join.
Yeah.
And whoever joins will role play their introduction to you coming into the camp. Like, say they were walking up towards the border doing a border patrol and they seen you enter camp, and then you have a whole interaction, and they can dive out of it if they want to. If, say, someone else dives in and you start having a thing and they're like, well, I'm going to leave you two to it, they can dive out of the story and go to another story or whatever. They're not wanting to spend a lot of time on this one. And that other person goes until either no one starts talking or you end it.
Yeah.
And if no one starts talking, what I tended to do is, so if I get to a point where, like, say the tour of the camp is over and only one person jumped in and they jumped out, what I would do is then continue a new post off of what ended with that story, going to do something else in the camp after finally getting introduced to it. And then if somebody new jumps in, or I run back into the person I've previously jumped in with, and you just do that kind of thing. And anytime your characters have interactions with each other, like I've had one where I was in like 6, 7 stories with this person actively.
Yeah.
Completion. And then, because it was all, big old mission stuff. And then you'll run into them later and it's someone else's story, or they'll come into your story. You decide, oh, hey, this person's doing this with this character. Well, this character's previously interacted with them. Y'all can actually make little nods to the previous little storyline and, keep the story progressing in this big world.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun. I don't even know why I got onto that actually now.
I think it's because we were, I don't know. I can't remember. We were saying something that was similar to that, and I guess it got you onto that. So.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's kind of about it. Got into it. Oh yeah, music. So
yeah, music. Yeah, because you were talking about how music kind of helps you with the role playing. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when I'm writing these stories and I'm writing these character stuff, and because I used to do it, of course, on my phone, and back then, I'd had a shit ton of music downloaded onto my phone.
Yeah.
And I would listen to all this music. And like I was trying to figure out what to do with one of these characters, right? Because his mother was Gaia, the goddess of force and raw energy.
Yeah.
So I thought, of course, be able to use it, energize myself, pull energy, something, and of course I can use like basically the force. I just push things away from me. But I was trying to figure out what to do in this fight because we were surrounded. My friends were surrounded by these monsters in this pit. Well, the song Thunderstruck came on, and it kicked into me. Well, raw energy, lightning is plasma, it's raw energy.
Yeah,
I could pull electricity out of the electric out of the air and make a massive, electrical force pulse.
Yeah.
So I had my character run off this cliff, do a flip, pull as much electrical charge as he could, and landed between the monsters and just pushed it out with the force that he naturally uses because his mother being the goddess of force.
Yeah.
With this electrical current, and just shocked a shit ton of the monsters, knocked them out. And I was like, yeah. There's a lot of things, movies and stuff I came up with by listening to songs or.
Yeah, that's definitely me as well. So you actually are listening to songs like with lyrics in it while you're role playing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting because most people, I would think, listen to just like instrumentation music.
Well, I do both because, and it really depends. And I always had it on shuffle, so I never knew what came on next.
Yeah.
Like there's a song by Motions White, City Lights.
Yeah.
It's very soft and kind of depressing sounding.
Yeah.
And so I'm a very adamant about I play the character. If when I'm typing as the character, I'm him. I'm not me
Yeah.
no more. I'm the character. And it's from being a stage performer. When I got on stage, I was no longer me. I was Willy Wonka. I
Right.
was this that person, whatever. I was the background dude, or you be that character. It's method acting. That's one reason I stopped, because I thought also that time I met my wife, and I stopped being that kind of doing a lot of the role plays because I got into those characters, and I just followed where the character would go. So, I had a moment where, so these two characters, I probably had like 26 stories of my friend of mine's character, one of her characters. We became friends because we played so many stories with these two characters together and helping each other out. So we actually became real good friends in real life. But they were getting close, and the storyline was, pushing close. Everyone else that was jumping in was kind of making jokes about them being close friends. And it was just leading that storyline that way. And, well, she had never mentioned that character actually was already dating someone in the role play. And the way my character discovered it was he was walking through the city on a downtime when he didn't have to be at the camp, and seen her at I can't remember where it was a cafe or something like that. And I was like, well, I guess this would be a good time because, their characters being out like that. And as I was walking towards, the guy who actually was role playing as her character's boyfriend jumped in and met her there. So when I found out, my character found out. And as he found out, she actually had typed that it started raining, and I was outside in the rain when this song pops on. I'm like, oh, this hurts. This is a perfect song for this moment.
Yeah.
So it escalated that entire role play area. And I'm like, man, I feel fucking bad for my character now. Damn. Poor man's. Well, that's that part of acting too. I mean, music. That's why That's why when you watch movies and shows, the right soundtrack makes the moment either even sadder or more dramatic or more exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be just the simplest song is like The Flash. The CW's The Flash. Spoiler alert for anybody who actually hasn't watched it. It is a later season. Can't remember which season. But I'd hope you'd watch. I mean, the series has been ended for a year now, but if you haven't, spoiler alert. So there's these black holes that pop up around Central City. And they figure out who is causing the black holes. He's causing it by accident. And it's because he accidentally merged his mind with the black hole. And as he starts thinking and stuff, it starts merging in these locations.
Yeah.
Well, they figured out they can actually pull his mind back out of the black hole and put it back into his, get it back into his body. They can actually save him. And this massive black hole appears between these two buildings. And Barry starts to run towards it, and Cisco starts playing the theme song, the Flash. He clicks it, and Iris looks at him and really goes, he's literally going into a black hole. She's like, good point. And then it stops becoming this weird overtone of their voices over it to it being the song, and watching Barry run in circles around this building and launch himself into a black hole. So it's a little comedic, but it also enhanced that, him jumping into a black hole.
Yeah.
It wasn't needed. They could have just done some basic song for that moment, or, the Flash theme itself. But the fact that they chose to do the Flash Gordon theme song just made it just chef's kiss. And I don't know if you can
Actually,
hear. I'm very stopped up today.
you sound
So,
exactly the same. And
ha ha ha.
actually, I heard one time that a lot of times in movies, they just pick a soundtrack that kind of works with that scene even before they even get the copyrights to it.
Yep.
But they'll keep that in mind that, well, we may not get copyright to this song, so just, we need to be open minded that there's might have a different track to it. And sometimes they said in movies they'll just throw a track on there just to have music playing. They don't really intend for it to, be the song to play in that scene. They just kind of throw one on there. And one example they did was the first Shrek movie, the "Hey Now You're an All-Star," that All-Star that plays at the beginning of the movie. That was actually never intended to play in the movie. They just kind of threw that track on there just to have music there. But when they tried to put other music in that scene, they said every time they're like, it just doesn't work like it does with this track. Like, we have to keep this track on there. So that's when they decided to use that track.
Yeah, it's well because when they're doing the editing, they want to see it with music in general.
Right.
And if you don't already get the green light to use that song, they just got to use whatever can sound good.
Yeah.
And well, if you don't get and in that case, the song that they just threw on it just for the shits and giggles turned out to be the better song.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. That I was like, yeah, I was like, I always kind of wonder. I always just kind of figured they chose that track because they were just trying to appeal to modern day kids. But they're like, no, it's just like we just thought it legitimately just sounded better that way with it. So I was like, oh yeah.
Happy little accidents. Yeah.
I don't know why I just started laughing all of a sudden. But yeah. So I've been playing. I finally started playing Jack 3 for the first time in like, I don't know, God, it's been like maybe 8 years now since I played that game. And
Damn.
and I still, I considered it. I've even mentioned on this podcast when we were ranking our favorite games that I considered it still my favorite game of all time. But then I even admitted in the podcast, I was like, well, I have to admit though, I haven't played this game in a really long time. So if I were to replay it, I think I would still have the same opinion. And the funny thing is I've actually bought the game about 2 years ago, to play on my PS2, and I just never did play it because I think part of me was kind of scared that my opinions about it might change,
Yeah.
and so I just kind of put it in my game collection and I just never played it. But I finally started playing it this week, and I'm already almost done with it. It's not a very long game anyway, though, but I've been playing it a lot, and but surprisingly, though, my opinions about it are relatively almost exactly the same. Like, still, like story wise, it's a bit rough around the edges. It's kind of all over the place. It's a good story, but it's not done quite as well as like Jack 2's story is. But gameplay wise, man, I just love so much of the missions and stuff. They're just so much fun. So I was just like, nope, I still think I would consider this, if not my favorite game, at least one of my favorite games. It's like I just still have so much fun with it. So
Yeah, and on the story thing, like I've replayed it as an adult before, and I count the shortness of it to the fact that we're a lot better at the game now.
yeah,
You've played way more difficult games than that. Years later, like for me, playing the Soul series, well, that's a pretty freaking difficult game. And now playing these, I go back to playing some of these older games. I'm like, dang,
it probably
I'm
also makes a difference that you're used to playing longer games now too. Because see, to me, like when I was a kid, playing like a 5 hour game seemed long to me. But nowadays, like that's like nothing. I'm like 5 hour game. I'm like I can play that in one setting.
5 hour game nowadays is just demo.
Yeah. But yeah, back in the day, for me anyway, I can't speak for other people, but for me, yeah, I thought it seemed pretty standard, pretty good sized game to me. So,
And well, a lot of people like, especially a lot of the ones that I think, and if anybody wants to comment, tell me differently, they can. Um, a lot of the people that want as games, A lot of times, probably the people that are used to playing like MMORPGs,
Yeah.
those just don't end.
Yeah, I was about to say you can play those forever.
I mean, World of Warcraft still being played, RuneScape still being played.
Yeah.
You know,
Ultima Online, yeah, still being played. Yeah.
those games just don't run out of content, and of course, they're built to where if they need to add, they want to add new missions and story plot, they can.
Yeah.
Whereas your average game, like that's story driven, can't. They can add, they can make a DLC and this and that, but their base game can only be so long.
Yeah. That
What they
was
try to
another thing
do.
that was a bit weird because I'm used to playing more like open world RPGs so much now. When I was playing that game, it was so linear and story focused. I was like, man, this feels kind of weird to just be kind of following along a path here. I was like, I'm not used to that.
Yeah, that's why I try to play multiple types of games.
Yeah.
Uh, the only type of games I don't play is like shooter games.
Yeah. For me, it
As much
depends on the shooter. There's some shooters I really like and some I just don't. So,
well, if it's a shooter game like Fallout or now with their what's it called Starfield and shit like that.
yeah.
I love those types of shooters.
Yeah, those are good. Fallout is good. I do like Doom, and I played a lot of Halo back in the day. Admittedly, I haven't played those games in a long time. Though I'm not sure if I'd like them as much now, but I liked them back then.
I'm
So
just not as much into like anymore. I used to be really big into them. I don't like them, and it just kind of got boring to me. Like they have their place in the game world, and I understand why people love them. They're fun, but games like Call of Duty, Modern
yeah,
Warfare,
any military shooter, yeah, I just can't get into it. So,
or even like
which I guess
Fortnite.
Halo's sort of like a space military shooter, I guess.
Well, like I don't even play the online Halo game
Yeah,
that they have now, and I just don't like. I'm okay with multiplayer shooters. Like if I can have friends and stuff, we're shooting whatever. I just
yeah.
get tired of the constant like battling another team of players
Yeah,
and
it
doing that.
does start to get repetitive after a while. I mean,
Yeah.
me and my son have played Call of Duty together, and it kind of feels like you're just playing the exact same over and over again. So,
Yeah, my stepdad, he loved playing
and maybe that's
the
why people like it because it's kind of predictable. So,
yeah, my stepdad loved playing the zombies on Call of Duty and
yeah.
COD.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And we played COD zombies with him, and it was fun playing with him because it was something we could do together. Because he wasn't really into much other games, and the other type of games he started playing a little bit when he did was like either racing games or at one point he was heavily playing the newer Tomb Raider games
Mhm.
because he was really big into that stuff for some reason. But like one is a single player, one's a racing game, and one he only played the zombie mode.
yeah.
So
It's
I
like
was
I
like,
like these specific games. Yeah, hey,
yeah,
ain't nothing wrong with that. Excuse me. Yeah, that was another thing I noticed about with Jack 3 because that was Naughty Dog used to be really obsessed with always putting like racing missions in their games back in the day, and because they did the same thing with like Crash Bandicoot on the PS1, and I was like, and so there was all these racing missions in Jack 3. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about these. And I'm like, man, when's the last time I've even played a racing game? I'm like, I used to love racing games, but it's not a type of game I ever play anymore. So, like at all. So, it actually
well,
took me a few minutes to kind of get used to playing that kind of game. I was like, this feels weird. Yeah.
it was the aspect of racing game, like a race mission or something in a game
Yeah.
that really piqued me into racing games. Because once I got good at those, so you know what, I want to try an actual full on just racing game.
Yeah.
Then I started getting good at those and having fun, but after a while, they burnt out on me because I think a lot of the games that burn out on me, I've noticed though, is because when I start them, I run into people that play them, especially if they're online games.
Hmm.
I start enjoying playing with these people and all these people. And then once they decide that they're either going to just give up or they just disappear, stop talking to me, and I'm stuck playing the game by myself, I tend to start not liking it as much anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's games even because I play Roblox. There's games on there that I don't play unless my friends are on.
Yeah,
Because when
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
even though originally it's a type of game that I could play by myself, but because I got used to it with a group, if I'm not playing with that group, it gets boring.
Yeah.
Like
It's like, I guess it's like you realized it was more fun to play with those people. So
yeah,
it's like now when you're playing by yourself, it's like, yeah. So
yeah, it's like eating a oh, I get it's like when you eat ice cream, just plain vanilla ice cream. Some people just love plain vanilla ice cream. It's great, but
I like
when you
playing
start
vanilla ice
adding like additives to it and making it even better or whatever, then when you go back to plain vanilla, it's just kind of yeah, it's good, but it's plain vanilla.
Yeah. That's actually one of my favorite things about plain vanilla ice cream is you can do so many things to it, like, and it works because it's vanilla.
It's like
It's
yeah,
adaptable.
I'm like yeah, this is a good game. I'm playing as dinosaurs with like Path of Titans, but without my friends, I'm like, but it's just a dinosaur game.
Yeah. It is fair
And
to say some games are kind of they were created to be played with other people, I think. So,
yeah, because like I've played it a lot by myself and I've enjoyed it because like, but on average, I find myself just playing as like a flyer if I'm by myself, just
yeah.
because like I've gotten to the point where I've noticed like if you find a good group of people that you actually play games with
Yeah.
and they stop playing the games as much, and you try to get a new group of people that you run into, it's always hit or miss on if it's going to be just as good as the old group or these people are going to end up being annoying fucks.
See, that would be
Also,
my big problem is I would get stuck with people that would probably get on my freaking nerves if I'd be like, oh God, and it would make me not want to play. So,
yeah, or and something I've been running into recently on online gaming is when one of your friends meets another person, a new person, and they start playing with them, and like if you're offline or something, and they introduce them to the rest of the group, and I've found one of two things has been happening lately.
hmm.
Either that person just doesn't like vibe with the whole group, and the person that found them and actually vibes with them starts slowly leaving the group to make a new group with them,
Yeah.
or like there's at one point we had a massive group of us playing, and then two people got into an argument, and now there's a massive split. There's a lot of people that I used to play with all the time. I would still play with because it wasn't
Yeah.
my fucking fight.
Yeah.
Don't because they didn't like this person won't play the game with me because I still hang out with this person.
Yeah.
Like people,
Because
it's
they see you as like you're on their side. I'm like, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm just playing a game.
yeah. And I've told them thousands of times like, if you don't want to play, it's whoever sends me an invite first. It's who I'm playing with.
Yeah.
Like if I can turn on my Xbox and this group over here sends me an invite to a party, I'm gonna go jump in with them because they sent me the invite. And while I'm in the party with them, if this group sends me a invite, I'll be like, no, I'm playing with this, such and such system just right now. Maybe later. And if such and such gets off and the other group members, the people in this other group are still on, I'll jump over to them. Because I enjoy both groups. And it's it's whoever reaches me first is who I'm playing with first. It's kind of sorry, it's the way it is.
Yeah. I know some people are like that with playing by themselves versus playing with other people on MMOs, like where a lot of people will play by themselves on MMOs, but then I've heard some people that say they flat out refuse to play by themselves. They said it's not fun unless they're playing with other people, and I was like, yeah, I can understand that. So, like, I know that was one of Sea of Thieves, like their biggest criticism they'd always say about that game is, well, it's fun to play with other people, but it's not fun to play by yourself. I was like, well, hell, most online games are like that.
Well, Sea of Thieves is a little different for me, especially now that they got the non-PvP waters. Because originally it was kind of sucked playing by yourself. Because I enjoyed, getting by myself because I can do things quicker and I can get more gold. But the problem is by yourself, you're getting overrun by these people in these bigger ships with a 4-man crew, and you're only by yourself.
Right.
Oh, a 2-man crew can overrun me. Well, yeah. A lot of times. I mean, I've defeated 2-man groups, but a 4-person group was a little difficult because they have a bigger ship, and there's like 3 people firing the cannons on your little tiny ass ship, and you're trying to repair, turn, dodge, fire back if you can, or just trying to flee as much as possible.
Yeah.
So it becomes a headache.
Excuse me. Yeah.
But with the Thieves, playing by yourself probably be a lot funner for me anyway. But I'm also the type of person, because with Sea of Thieves, I didn't play with enough people very often. Working with me. So I'm the type, if I plan on playing by myself in a game, if I'm getting into an MMORPG, I got to set, okay, am I going to be a lone wolf, or am I going to try and be part of a guild or whatever? Because if I go in lone wolf, I can eventually transition into a guild, but it's harder for me to go into a guild and then transition back into being a lone wolf.
Yeah.
Because it basically ruins me once I start playing with other people on the prospect of playing it by myself.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because like if I was getting the mindset I'm doing this by myself, I don't need help. I'm lone wolf in this character.
Yeah.
Things that are typically seen, people see as tedious, I don't. But once those tedious tasks become even less, annoying, because I'm just chit chat with somebody as I'm doing this. Like maybe I'm just killing the same enemies over and over in this one rotation, trying to get this one loot.
Yeah.
By myself, I got music going, or I'm talking to my wife or whatever, and I've just got my grind. But once I start talking to people, then that grind becomes less, like I start paying attention less to the grind because I'm in this cool conversation with someone. Then I go back to being by myself with even just the music. And I'm like, now I really notice the grind. So
it sounds like me and you would probably have a lot of fun playing certain like games like that online together, because it sounds to me like me and you play very similarly. I kind of I like to take my time and do pedally stuff a lot of times, especially with RPGs. So
yeah.
I just find it, I know some people, they want to move on to the next thing, but because it feels like boring and tedious to them. But to me, like, that's, it's the little things that make the overall experience more fun. So to me, but I get it. Everybody likes different stuff. So
yeah, my friends on Xbox that listen to the podcast, if they ever listen to the episode, I love you guys. You're cool friends, but I'm about to talk shit on you.
Oh boy.
There's one game that I've been playing on Roblox. I'm constantly trying to grind out certain stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially right now, it's the Easter event. So there's a special Easter creature. Some of them, there's a couple of them that love to grind as well. But the ones that don't, they start wanting to do other stuff. And I'm over here trying to get this grind going. And it becomes tedious for me to do this grind because they're wanting to do other things. And I'm not trying to play a creature that can go and fight things right now. I'm playing one of my smaller creatures that can just zoom through the map and find what I need to find.
Yeah.
We'll get in a fight, and I'm like, oh, no, I gotta go do that. I gotta help my friend because I'm the type of person, if my friend's getting killed, if I can help them, I feel like a dick if I don't.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I mean, I've died thousands of times just trying to distract. Because I'm like, oh, this is my small creature. It's not going to be able to do anything. But, fuck it. Just fly over there and I'll try and distract whatever's trying to tackle them so they can get away, even if it means my death. So then I have to take the whole time to regrow the creature a lot of times and then get back on my grind. And then by the time I do that, some of them like to get back into another fight after they've fully healed up.
Yeah.
And in that aspect, I hate it. I'm like, I just want to do my thing.
Yeah.
God, my nose is freaking stopped up. I can't breathe.
Have you tried blowing it?
It's just dry.
Oh, kind of like a, yeah.
I need to take an allergy pill. Yeah, my sinuses are stopped the fuck up. Well, not stopped up, they're just dry and swollen feeling.
Yeah.
So an allergy pill probably would be good.
An allergy pill would probably be good.
Probably.
Probably. It might help. It's 50-50.
Yeah. Well, the people like, oh, allergy pills, they help get rid of the irritation and this and that. I'm like, they don't always work for me though. I'll take an allergy pill and all I'm doing is just sitting here and it's still doing the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I've taken an allergy pill, so.
Yeah.
Probably when I was like a teenager.
Yeah, like my whole face feels fucking swollen. Medical issues on the podcast.
It happens. I'm feeling pretty good today, actually. I woke up and I don't mean to brag, but yeah, I woke up and I was just like, because usually I feel kind of crappy when I first wake up, especially if I eat too much junk before I went to sleep, which I kind of did. And but when I woke up, I was just like, nope, I feel really good. So I feel refreshed and I don't have that brain fog that I usually have when I wake up. Everything was good. So.
Well, like I'm good. It's just I can't breathe through my nose.
Yeah,
makes it hard when you're trying to actively talk. And
usually I have a problem. I've been having a problem with the past few weeks with my throat getting dry so quickly. Like I've noticed when I do the podcast, I constantly keep having to take a drink to keep my throat moist, but I haven't had that problem today. So
that's good. Yeah, well, after getting up at 4:00 yesterday morning, 3:00, and going to work at 4, I was tired all day, but I pushed through, kept trying to push through. Like I was trying to play the game, and my vision started getting blurry. I was so tired.
Yeah,
and I finally pushed through until about almost close to 10:00, and I took me a hot shower, got laid up in the bed and some fresh, clean sheets, and dude, I was gone. Like everyone was like, "Why don't you take a nap?" I'm like, well, if I take a nap, I'm gonna ruin my whole fucking sleep schedule.
Yeah, that's the fight I fight almost every single day. I'm like, oh man, I'd love to take a nap right now, but I know if I do, it's gonna jack up my sleep schedule. But sometimes my tiredness overpowers my willpower, so I just I go to sleep anyway, and or I'll talk myself into it and be like, well, I'll just take a short nap, and then a short nap turns into a long nap. So.
Yeah, my buddy's like, well, you could always just, set some alarms and this and that. I'm like, dude, I'm the type of person that if it's not an alarm, like my work alarms force me out of my sleep and out of my dreams.
Yeah.
Because I have that urgency. I need to get the fuck up, go to work.
Yeah.
I got to just yank myself out of a dream.
Yeah.
But if my alarm goes off and it's like, wait, I don't have to do anything. I don't have nowhere to be. Yeah, fuck it.
That's exactly the way I am. Like, it'll wake me up, but I'll immediately just tell myself, like, oh, I don't need to get up for anything, so I'm just going to go back to sleep. So. So I'll do.
And people are like, well, you just got to will yourself to get up. I'm like, yeah, but when you're already
Easier said than done. Yeah.
when you're still half asleep and there's nothing to cause you to be urgent.
Yeah.
Well, it gives you the inspiration. Like my sleep schedule to me is not urgent enough for some reason.
Yeah.
To keep me going once with an alarm. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's fair to say you're not thinking super clearly when you're tired like that. So when you first wake up, you're not making the most logical decision. But if you got to get up and go to work, then that kind of overpowers it more. You're like, well, I got to get up and do this stuff versus, oh, I need to fix my sleep schedule, so I better get up.
Yeah. Well, I'm also the type of person like staying up all night or staying up multiple days doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
But sleeping for an hour or so and then getting up makes me even more tired. I can't sleep and then get up, and like when I go into work, like for at least the first 2 hours until after I get breakfast in me and the monster down or something caffeinated.
Yeah.
I can't, like people when they start flowing in that morning, I'm just like, But that's just because work is, important. I need the job.
Right.
Get up and just, and that's the motivation to move. Fixing my sleeping schedule is not motivation enough for me to get the fuck up out of a nap.
Right.
Now, like if I was going to take a nap because, say I had to, go attend something with like my cousin's like, hey, I got this or this going on at night, or my wife said we got this at this time, and I took a nap beforehand so I wouldn't be tired or as tired. Yeah, my alarm goes off, I'll get the fuck up, and then my body will kick in. Yeah, I just rested. Now I'm good to go. And that's because, well, that's something important I need to do. In my head, it's important.
Yeah.
If it's not important, I won't wake up enough for it for a long time.
It's also fair to say that like fixing your sleep schedule is more of a long-term goal, and that's not always easy to get enough motivation in that moment either when you're first waking up, like versus I got to get up and go to work right now. That's more of a like something I got to do right now. So
well, that's why work is good to fix. A job is good to mess with your sleep schedule.
yeah, I agree. If you can get a better work schedule, kind of like when me and you were working that schedule together, like my sleep schedule was amazing because I actually woke up at a good time and went to bed at a good time. So I missed that schedule.
Like when I was actively gaming, yeah, I would wake up and have a schedule specifically to do that.
Yeah.
Because, my guild got on at a certain time. We had a certain time that we had to do this raid. So even if I didn't wake up to my alarm,
excuse me,
motherfuckers were blowing up my phone with Discord. So my brain caused it to be urgent because for me, if someone is actively calling me to wake me up for a situation, after like 4 or 5 times of it happening, my brain starts to make that a priority. So this is actually important because people are actively forcing me to do it or actively getting my attention to do it.
Yeah.
So my brain's like, okay, put that on the priority list. When the alarm goes off for this, I need to get the fuck up. Even if it's something as simple as, guild raids. Job's a little bit different because my brain already puts it in the important section.
Yeah.
But like, say with this podcast, right?
Yeah.
If I had an overnight schedule, like I was up all night and I slept all day, and we started doing this podcast, every time you started calling me to wake me up or whatever,
yeah,
even if I didn't wake up my alarm, be like, hey, you ready for the podcast? Ready to record? After so many times, like, okay, my brain's like, okay, so the podcast is important. I need to do this because someone is actively waking me up for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of like it slowly starts to build a habit in your brain to where now it's like, Okay, yeah, I got to do this. So,
Yeah. I mean, humans are creatures of habit. So,
yeah. Right. And we're kind of raised to this concept of going to work, working a 9 to 5 job, and then, so it's kind of instilled in us even at a younger age before we even do it. And school, if you think about it, school is sort of a practice for that, at least schedule wise. And so it's like kind of like as an adult, you just kind of just accept, yeah, this is what I got to do. I got to wake up and go to work. And so,
the only thing I wish is there was night school for high
like,
schoolers because
oh, yeah.
9 times out of 10, like I'll say about 8 times out of 10 typically,
Yeah.
your first job is going to be a late shift or an overnight shift
Yeah.
on average.
They should
Because,
do they should make like high school be like have like a day school and a night school, and then student the only thing is most students would probably pick the night school, but that would be okay, I think. There would probably still be some students that pick day school, and that way they could pick which one they were on. And if you think about it theoretically, they would actually have to hire double the amount of teachers, so it would actually open up for more jobs too.
yeah, but they'd have to pay more people.
So
Yeah, never, I'm not getting into that one. But I mean, another good thing is like when I was in high school, luckily, I was in high school and I was old enough to take care of myself. My parents worked overnights.
yeah,
So, like, if I was at night school, when they got up to go to work, I'd be getting up to go to school, and I'd go to school, come home, they're off work. So, they wouldn't, it'd be a lot of parents, it has to be that way for them. Or, like, especially early on with your kids, you got to be there at home with them and this and that. And a lot of times it's not easy for both parents to have a day job. Some of them have to have a night job, and if you're lucky enough that one of them has a job that makes enough money that can pay for everything, and one of them can be stay-at-home parent, you're blessed with that.
yeah,
But on average, like I work days, my wife works evenings. Luckily, she's part-time because that's all we need. So if we have a kid, she's home with the kid throughout the entire week while I would be at work, and then on the weekend I'd be home with the kid while she's at work that evening.
yeah.
So it works for us, but there's not always that situation for parents. That's what they always have to like find a night babysitter for this, or or at night the kid has to go after school. They go to their grandparents' house and they wake up in the morning and go to school.
Yeah.
Because their parents work overnights. So then the kid gets raised primarily by their grandparent and not by their parent. And, whoever you believe in forbid you be a single parent and have to have an overnight shift at work.
Yeah, I know when I was a kid, my mom had 2 jobs when I was a preteen. So her work schedule was kind of all over the place. So
Yeah. Well, for me as a kid, my mom was lucky up until my sister was 14. Because my sister is 6 years older than me. So
that's what it was with my sister. But she had moved out by that point, so she didn't babysit as much anymore. But I was a preteen at that point, and preteens were acceptable to be at home by themselves in those days. So it's a bit iffier now. So
yeah. Well, I mean, my sister, she moved out when she was 14, believe it or not.
Jeez.
So her boyfriend, who ended up becoming her husband and is the kid, the father of her kids, they're now separated, but it is what it is. I think he was 16 when they got together. And I guess my sister decided that her mom couldn't get along. And she was going to move out with him. And my mom said, well, what? If his parents don't care, I don't care. And, well, his parents didn't care.
Oh, okay. So she moved out with his parent into his parents' house.
Moved in with her boyfriend and his parents.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty common thing, actually, believe it or not. A lot of teenagers do that. Move out of their parents' house into their boyfriend or girlfriend's parents' house. Mm.
I've never heard of that. Like for me, my sister was an outlier because I never seen that done.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I've heard about it it's pretty common. So my sister, she technically did move out when she was like 15, almost, I think she was 15 at the time.
yeah.
But she moved out. She didn't move out with like a boyfriend or anything. She moved out with somebody we went and lived with somebody we went to church with for a little while because it's a long story. I won't get into the details, but anyway, she moved in with them for about a year and then she moved back in with us. So, but that was a planned thing. So my mom and it wasn't like my sister was like, "Oh, I'm moving out," because they, like that. It was like they were having some problems with each other, so it was like they planned this out to see if it would work, and it didn't really work. So I've been thinking about watching because I think I've mentioned in previous podcast episodes that I'm into like drama shows,
Well,
and so I've been thinking about watching Degrassi, and I'm not uh, I'm not sure about it though. I've been watching some review because it's kind of an older show, but it went on for a really long time apparently. And so I've been thinking about watching it to see if I like it. Have you ever
okay.
seen it?
I don't think so.
Well, one of the reasons why I was thinking about watching it is because it's on one of the free streaming channels, and right now I don't have. I'm actually not paying for any streaming right now. I'm trying to save as much money as I can for my car payment right now that I'm making. But
I mean, do you know the streaming app Peacock?
yeah.
Uh, I could give you our account for that, and you can watch stuff on Peacock.
Oh, really?
It's got live channels as well.
Yeah, I've used the free version of Peacock before, but I've never used the paid version, so I don't really know all what they have on there.
Yeah, just remind me, and I'll give you the information for it.
Yeah, I mean, eventually I will get Netflix back because, or at least for a little while I watch Stranger Things when it finally comes out with the next season. But as of right now, yeah, and I probably will get HBO Max back at least for a little while too, eventually, because I do want to watch the last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. But just currently, yeah, I don't actually have a streaming service. So I thought that might be a good show that would hold my attention. That's technically free to watch. So I was like, oh, this might be good, but who knows? I may not like it. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can watch on Peacock.
Yeah, I've scanned through their selection before, but that was a long time ago. I'm sure they probably rotated stuff
I
around since then. And like I said,
also of the movies on here.
I've used their free version because that's how I watched Sliders years ago because they had it on the free version, and I think I watched something else on there, a couple of movies, I think. But I've never actually had their paid version, so I don't even really know what their selection is. So
Yeah, well, they have all seven Harry Potters. Well, eight because seven's part one and part two, and they're all the extended editions,
yeah,
which is weird because they're also on Max. But
they also what?
Harry Potter's also on Max.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen the advertisements for it on there. Yeah, sometimes they'll have, shows or movie series on two different streaming. There's a lot of shows on Max that are also on Hulu. So,
Yeah. Hey, with Peacock, you can watch the Hallmark Channel.
I'm not really into Hallmark movies that much. There's a couple of them that are okay. Why do you think I want to watch Hallmark movies just because I like drama shows?
I was just picking on you. But yeah, they have live channels. It's pretty great. It's not that expensive. I love streaming services. I just wish there was like a way to like buy a big pack that has them all.
Yeah, it is. I do kind of miss the old days when there were less streaming services. Of course, there were also less shows to select from and stuff too. But you also didn't have all these friggin' options. Nowadays, there's so many streaming services. It's not even funny. And if you want to watch all these different shows, it's like you have to feels like you got to at least subscribe to like at least 3 of them. So
Yeah. Like I shouldn't
my
say
problem
that-
is I have trouble keeping up with shows because I'll go through spells where I'm really really into a show and I'm still want to watch it, but I'm just not currently actively watching it. So then I have like these streaming services sometimes that are just sitting there dormant, and I'm still paying for them, but I'm not really using them, which is kind of annoying. So,
I'm intention thinking about, because even though we just got it, I've found there's a lot of shows I want to watch on Netflix.
yeah,
Like Netflix was fine when it was able to be shared.
yeah, yeah. They've gotten really picky on that.
Which is annoying. Because like not every household can afford to have all these streaming services.
Yeah.
So, and sorry Netflix, but they're the weakest link of even Peacock is a stronger competitor than Netflix, because like even with Peacock, there's movies that just come out in theaters that just left theaters that come on the Peacock versus Netflix. Because like Netflix is, I mean not Netflix, but Peacock is see here, they're NBC, Bravo, Hallmark, NBC News, Premier League, Big Team, like the NFL's on there. You can watch. You were able to watch the Super Bowl on Peacock. Like,
yeah.
it's a pretty big thing, and they get active movies like the new Ted series is a Peacock original. Even stuff like DreamWorks on there, because you got Megamind, Shrek, Kung Fu Panda's on here, the new Space Jam's on here. Like a lot of those things don't go to Netflix.
Yeah. Netflix, they kind of have those certain shows that a lot of people want to watch, and that's kind of what gets people staying on Netflix. But yeah, I agree that as far as selection goes, and like how many movies and shows, a variety of there's to watch, Netflix is very lacking on that. So like I said, honestly, if it wasn't for Stranger Things, I'd probably never even subscribe to Netflix. So I would really have no other reason to. So
well, like the new movie
I watch others when I
year,
have Netflix. I watch other stuff on there, but they're not like have to watch shows. They're just kind of like, yeah, it's something to watch. So
well, the thing is, all the Halloweens are on there.
on Netflix or on Peacock?
Peacock.
Oh, okay.
Like, I just came across Halloween Ends. Have the new The Exorcist Believer
Mm-hmm.
is on here, and it's streaming only on Peacock. So is the new movie Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of movies that came straight from the theaters to Peacock. And it was the end of last year, babe. Anyways, like just, and it's a lot cheaper for what you get than what Netflix is.
Yeah.
You have more than like
Netflix used to be much more affordable, but it seems like every year they slowly keep inching their price up, and up, and it's kind of gotten to the point where it's pretty ridiculous. So.
Now Peacock does like have a section of Leaving Soon, and apparently The Exorcist Believer is on that. So I guess a lot of people weren't watching it on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently they had the original Alien movie too. I know why Aquaman's leaving it. And that's because Aquaman, I think Netflix got the rights to air the DC movies.
Mm-hmm.
And there's talks, and if they do go through with this, I will stay with Netflix 100%, because, of course, I do like a lot of their, and this is going to be weird for me anyways, it's weird. I do like a lot of their Korean shows. I do like a lot of their other country movies and shows. But I guess there's talks that Netflix might have Zack Snyder continue his Snyderverse on it.
Oh, really?
because the verse is there's talks that he might be allowed to continue his Snyderverse, but only for Netflix. But take that with a grain of salt. That's just a rumor or a pipe dream, probably. But if that does go through, yeah, I'm going to stay with Netflix just to watch the Snyderverse. Because Henry Cavill as Superman is just peak to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about that kind of stuff, but yeah, I know. I trust you because I know you know a lot about it. So.
Yeah, we're going to talk on like streaming services. Like Peacock's good for its price. I don't know enough about Paramount Plus to really want to get it yet.
Paramount Plus is great if you love like it's great for Nickelodeon if you like Nickelodeon shows. It's great for like MTV type shows. They're on there because it's all owned by that same Paramount company. It's also great for like older CBS shows, like if you're into like older sitcoms from CBS, which Hulu has some of that stuff too, but Paramount Plus has some like I Love Lucy and stuff like that you can't find on Hulu. And so it's great for those kinds of shows as well. So, of course, I watch Paramount Plus they're good for if you like. Yeah, a little embarrassing. If you like soap operas, they have some on there too. You can watch. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what Paramount Plus is good for. They're not too expensive either. So
yeah, Hulu's really good for like certain movies and shows, or like
most people that have Hulu are usually people that also have Disney Plus because they have those bundles, where you get like Disney Plus and Hulu together or whatever. Most people, yeah, it's kind of a tacked on thing. I'm not saying Hulu's bad or anything because they got a good selection, but it for a lot of people it is sort of a tacked on streaming service. They're like, oh yeah, we'll get Hulu and Disney Plus. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to watch the Twilight series, they're on Hulu.
Yeah. Yeah, I've watched quite a bit of stuff on Hulu. They have a good selection. So.
Yeah, they just added the Twilight series. They've added Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
They've added a holy crap. Look at their just recently added movies. Big Mama House 2.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Oh, now Detective Pikachu's on there.
Yeah.
And they're also big on if you if you're not the biggest anime fan, then you just like the base anime. Hulu's typically one because you can watch pretty much.
Yeah, Hulu's great if you're like a casual anime fan. So if you just like some shows, yeah, it's great for that. So because I think they have like all the Digimons on there, and I think Dragon Ball Super is on there as well. So.
Yeah, if you're the casual anime fan,
yeah,
but you like primarily like actual shows, they're good. And holy crap, I might have to keep an eye on Hulu because now they have Godzilla Tokyo SOS, which is one of my favorite Godzilla movies.
I should have known it was Godzilla related.
Yeah, it's Godzilla. I love Godzilla. I'm a big monster movie fan. I love it. Go fuck yourself if you think it's stupid.
I don't think it's stupid. I just think it's boring. So.
I guess the new Scream's on here now too.
Yeah, I've watched them on there. They're also on Paramount Plus, or they were. They may not be now. They were back then. So Paramount Plus.
Yeah. Well, also, if you're a big fan of the like more adult Marvel movies, like what Al Fox done them because they're more adult, less aired towards kids as much as like the MCU. Hulu's great because that's where so with Disney buying out Fox, pretty much I believe all the adult stuff that Fox did, like the Alien movies and all that, like a lot of those are going to be put on Hulu because Hulu and Disney have a partnership,
right?
So they're putting their more adult stuff on Hulu and trying to leave their platform for more of the kid stuff.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't see what else did Fox done? Well, they've done a lot because like you're not going to see the Alien movies on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Disney Plus, they for the most part, I mean, there's a few exceptions, but for the most part, they try to keep. It seems like they keep it mostly family friendly on there.
Yeah.
But I guess
Well,
that's the name of the game.
So it's like if you like Fox, you like the stuff that Fox produces, Hulu's good for you. If you like ghost shows, Hulu's also good. Hulu's got a lot of ghost shows, like Ghost
Oh, really?
Hunters.
Yeah, I've seen some of that on HBO Max as well. A lot of different ghost shows, but I never watched any of them.
There's a ton of them. It's like they just added more, I guess, added Ghost Adventurers. They got the Unexplained. They got a lot of like, the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, like History Channel stuff, and then they got all kinds of crap on Hulu. Hulu really has kept going up. Netflix is going down, which is kind of, but I think what keeps Netflix going for one is like you kept talking about is
Stranger Things.
things.
And yeah, the Umbrella Academy is pretty big on there as well. So
Yeah, Umbrella Academy, and also they have a lot of other country movies and shows,
yeah.
which are pretty cool. But on average, there's not a lot to them, and a lot of their anime, even for casual anime fans, is leaving and going to Hulu. Kind of sucks because it all started with Netflix.
Yep, it did really.
Everything's eaten up. Part of the podcast where we had nothing to talk about, so we just talk about streaming services.
So I like streaming services or the concept of them. So.
Yeah, it was like
My biggest, but a lot of the issues I have with streaming services really more of a me issue than the actual service itself. And like I said, like kind of like what I said earlier in the episode, how I have that weird thing where I get like really interested into a show and I still want to watch it, but I'm just not currently wanting to actively watch it. And so that's one problem with me. And another thing is sometimes I'm just not always in the mood to currently watch a show. Like maybe I have it on my backlog or save it in my queue or whatever, and then I just never quite get around to watching it, and I have that as a problem too. So that's why sometimes with some shows it's easier for me to just buy the DVD set, and that way I've already purchased it that one time, I own it, and then I can just watch it at any time I want. So versus a streaming service, there's always this pressure where I feel like I gotta watch it because I'm paying for it. So, but yeah, that's more of a me issue though. That's not the streaming service's fault. Yeah. So they do a good job. So
yeah, like I don't ever feel pressured.
Yeah.
Now, if I get to the point where I've watched everything a streaming service has that interests me,
yeah,
and it's one of the ones I'm paying for because like I pay for some, my in-laws pay for some, my mom pays for some, and we just kind of share what we can. And because that's how we were doing, that's how we're doing with Hulu. Now is the only one that I share with my mother because that's she was paying for Netflix originally before Netflix stopped being able to share. They cut off people sharing their accounts.
Yeah.
And then Max, Disney Plus, and Prime are from my in-laws, and so is Hulu. No, that's all. So those are three. And then I got Peacock, Crunchyroll, and Netflix by myself because we have to get our own Netflix. Yeah. But so when you have, they'll be able to share like that, that's what made them great. Because if you pay for the extra slot to share, because like I have issues with, certain ones, like, and it does bother me. Like Peacock's one of the ones that do it, and so is like Prime Video. You pay a lower subscription, but you still get ads. You have to pay the higher subscription to get no ads.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I'm the type of person. Okay, you increase your payment for profile slots. That's okay with me because you're paying extra to have more people to be able to share with. So, because that way Prime or whatever streaming service is making up some money for this household over here not paying for their own.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that.
If you have it, pay $7 a month to subscribe, but you get ads.
Yeah.
But if you go to a $15 slot, you won't have ads. That I don't like. Like, if I'm going to pay any kind of fucking subscription, you better not give me fucking ads.
Right. It's like,
Now,
I'm already paying this amount of money every month, and I also have to sit through ads too. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Because like Crunchyroll, what they did is you could start up a free account. You didn't have to subscribe.
The annoying thing to me about Hulu is the lower tier one. They keep certain shows. You're not allowed to watch certain shows on there. You have to get the premium subscription to watch everything they have on there, and that's what I don't like. I'm like, that's annoying to me because every time I'll come across shows like, "Ooh, I might want to watch that," and I'm like, "Oh wait, I have to have premium subscription for that." Yeah.
Yeah, because like Crunchyroll, the way they did it, right, is you pay, if I remember correctly, you pay for the base subscription. You can only have one device, and you don't have access to the Crunchyroll store. You pay for the second subscription, you can have up to, I think, 6 devices, and then you get access to the Crunchyroll store. Because it's fan, super fan, and mega fan.
Yeah.
You pay for the mega fan, which is even more expensive. Not only do you get everything else, you get more slots that you can put it on. Plus, they give you a yearly box that comes to your house with random anime stuff in it. Now, if you don't want to pay yet, you're kind of iffy about paying for a subscription. You can set up a free account. There's only certain animes you can watch, and they do have ads.
Yeah.
Now, where the two kind of fuck you a little bit is they'll show an anime that you can watch free with ads, and then you get to a certain episode, and then he's like, "Oh, you can't continue until you pay for the subscription. To watch more of this series, get a subscription."
Yeah.
But it's like, they're like, here's our base subscription, $8. Get the basic shit. You can watch all your anime without ads, and you just don't get no other extra thing. There's only one, device. So it's like, okay, that's actually worth the price because there's a shit ton of anime.
Yeah.
So even if it's not like I'm paying for, like if Netflix, they should have lowered the subscription price since they stopped being able to add multiple accounts because like, I feel like if I'm going to pay, why should I pay $15 for a subscription if I'm the only one watching that subscription?
Yeah.
$8, okay, I can see that $8 for myself. It's fine. You know what I mean? They each own, like, they compete with each other with prices weirdly. And Netflix just ain't doing a good job anymore. Because you still got to pay the $15, but you can only have one household. Like, you can make multiple profiles, but you can't have more than one household. It's like, I don't know how it detects it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go to sign into my mom's,
it's supposed to text it by your location. That's the problem I have with that. I'm like, well, what if you're on like vacation or something and you're in a hotel room and want to watch your Netflix? Is it going to charge you for that?
No,
because you're in a different location.
When you sign into it, because I was trying to sign into my mom's when they switched it over, and that's how I knew they finally switched it over.
Yeah,
was you can send a code for a temporary to the new device.
Oh,
so like, thing is, if you watch it on your phone, it's fine because it's connected to that device. So they have to connect
the device.
Devices. If I send to my mom's, she has to a temporary code that only lasts for so long.
That's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
It's an example of them complicating a system because they're too greedy.
Yep. And it's going to be their downside.
Yeah.
Because thing is, before Hulu allowed, and apparently Hulu's talking. Apparently, there's talks that Hulu's going to be following. Same with Disney Plus. If all these streaming services start doing that, then a lot of people aren't going to buy it.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, I know I won't. I'll just, if they start doing crap like that, I'll just find some other alternative to watch shows. So.
Well, like, thing is, it also pisses me off with certain apps like Apple Plus or Apple TV, right?
Yeah.
I can't watch Apple TV on my phone.
Why?
It's an Android.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
And there's not a Android TV. So on my phone, I'm stuck watching instead of that. But then they throw shit like, and to the viewers, if you have yet to watch Godzilla X Kong, and probably by the time anybody watches this, they probably would have already seen it, Godzilla X Kong.
Yeah.
It actually mentions stuff that happened in the Apple TV show, Monarch Legacy of Monsters.
Yeah.
So I now have to watch Legacy of Monsters to catch some of the tad bits. Now, it's not truly as important, like most things. You can still go on without watching it, but they hint to stuff that was going on in Legacy of Monsters, which is kind of a little patch between Godzilla vs. Kong and Godzilla X Kong New Empire.
Yeah.
So, but I should have mentioned on the podcast, I am watching it illegally.
Yeah.
Fuck them. Like, I was watching, I'm also watching Walking with Dinosaurs, or their Prehistoric Planet illegally.
Yeah.
Because I'm not paying for fucking Apple TV. Because the thing is, I can only watch it at home.
Yeah.
I can
it's like you wouldn't have the option to watch it at work. Yeah.
Yeah. If I could, and no, I'm not going to get a whole fucking new phone that's an Apple product. Just
oh, come on, Eric. You buy Apple product. It's not that hard. Just buy an Apple product.
Yeah, let's just spend $500 on some app. Ugh. No, I'll watch it illegally. Fuck Apple.
Yeah. There's some movies I have to watch illegally sometimes because I literally just can't find it on any streaming service because I was like, either I have a really weird taste in movies that are so niche that it's like not on any of these services, or I don't know. It's just like that always seems to happen to me. I'm like, well, I can watch it on this website for free, so I guess that's what I'm gonna do. So.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're about out of time, so I guess we'll wrap things up here. I
guess the takeaway from this episode is, well, do what you want with streaming services.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
We weren't on the ball with this episode, were we?
Were we not? I actually kind of felt like we were a bit more, better at keeping the conversation going with this one. Because the last two episodes we did, I actually kind of felt like we were a bit all over the place. But this one, it felt like we were kind of keeping things going. So.
Maybe I'm just used to us being all over the place.
It's like it doesn't feel right unless we're all over the place. Yeah. It's going to happen sometimes, folks. Sometimes we'll be all over the place, and sometimes we'll keep a conversation going. I mean, that's just the way it is. So.
Yeah, we record these in 30-minute pieces, so we try to do different conversations each piece.
Yeah.
Unless it's too big to not do just one.
Yeah.
So we try to at least have three good topics in each part, but especially for the beginning, that can be just whatever. But I guess with that being said, like, comment, subscribe, your typical average YouTube BS and Spotify BS.
Oh yeah.
And comment down, and I will, if I see your comments on any video and you have something for me either to tear apart, laugh at, or look at Kevin like, so this person had an idea. I actively will do that, and follow us on Instagram, which is
bar_city_podcast.
yay!
I finally got it right. Yeah. Well, you yelled at me last time, so I was.
Do you have anything to add?
Not really. We got a new subscriber on YouTube, I saw, but other than that, yeah.
I know who that is.
I figured it was somebody you probably knew, but I didn't recognize the username. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what his username is, but I told him to subscribe. So
yeah.
But with that being said, have fun, everyone. Bye.